Hey guys, this is Sundown Rider here, and this is going to be my chapter review to the Seven Deadly Sins, chapter 195. The battle for the defense of Lyonesse concludes. Now, once again, just in case you don't know, this is Nanatsu no Taizai, chapter 195. So let's get into it. We start off with the cover page, which is a nice color spread with all the sins on it. Nothing really special. It just looks pretty nice. Merlin's in some new outfit, looks pretty cool. Yeah, so we go straight into the chapter. Meliodas says it's time for the world to be rid of Fraudrin. It's time to erase Fraudrin. Now, I like this version of Meliodas. He's really going in. He doesn't care about anything. He's become something above and beyond Meliodas. He's become ruthless, and that's something that I really like about Meliodas, but it also gives me a bad vibe. So Fraudrin says Meliodas is just like back then, referring to when he was probably a commandment, when he was a full demon of sorts. So he's saying Meliodas is just like back then. He's ruthless. So Fraudrin attacks Meliodas only to be riddled full of holes by Meliodas' attack. He uses like that Goku on Piccolo Senior attack where he headbutts him through the stomach, and he just riddles him full of holes with that repeatedly. It's really beasty. So everyone's shocked. Ban seems happy and satisfied. He's like, yeah, this is going to be sick. This is going to be awesome. And Fraudrin calls Meliodas a monster. He just kind of looks back at him like, oh, you're a monster. And reverts to his normal size, Fraudrin, due to the excessive damage he's taken. Hauser is shocked Meliodas managed to overpower Fraudrin using just brute force. I mean, he is one of the 10 commandments. But Merlin says it's to be expected. Meliodas has twice his power, excluding his demon form. So even before he was in his demonic form, before his new looking sign, by the way, I forgot to point that out a few chapters ago, but his demon mark has taken on a different pattern. So Fraudrin says 3,000 years ago, and when history repeated itself 16 years ago. Now, what does he mean by this? I took a look at the timeline, and I didn't really understand what he meant by history repeating itself 16 years ago. Because 3,000 years ago, Meliodas betrayed the 10 commandments for someone he fell in love with, and then he locked away. Well, we assume he aided in the locking away and the sealing of the 10 commandments and the demons. But Fraudrin says history repeated itself 16 years ago. So what repeated 16 years ago? That was when the kingdom of Danafor was destroyed by Meliodas' wrath, when he kind of just blew it all up because he lost Liz. Now, what repeated there, I don't really understand. Was it just because he was fighting against Fraudrin, who was the 10 commandment once again? I don't know. Fraudrin was saying that 3,000 years ago, and when history repeated itself 16 years ago, you were chilling. And he's talking to Meliodas, and he says the demons were all the while were kind of waiting for vengeance against the goddesses and Meliodas. They were brewing their hatred. Can I say it right? Brewing their hatred. Yeah, so Mel pats Fraudrin on the face, and he's like, oh, I've been in your shoes before. And then he slaps Fraudrin across the ground. And this is really where Ban realizes that something's not right with Meliodas. Something's kind of off. He states it. He says he's talking to Merlin, and he's just like, I don't remember the captain being like this. So Fraudrin then flashes back to when he first learned of Meliodas' betrayal back in the war. So Meliodas killed Aronak and Zeno, who we assume are 10 commandments. See, they were accompanying him. So this is also kind of dodgy. I mean, like, Meliodas back then, he must have been like, whew, he must have been a real beast, because he killed 2 commandments who were accompanying him. Just because he was like, yeah, okay, this is my time to defect, and then he just straight up killed him. It seems like he didn't have any issue doing that. And this is all according to Gautha, the selfless. So this is Gautha in his 10 commandment form. He looks the same. He's just wearing black lipstick. It looks kind of weird, but this is all Gautha telling us this in the flashback. So it's Gautha talking to Fraudrin. So Fraudrin's in shock. Gautha says Meliodas defected for love. So we assume he defected for the first incarnation of Liz, and is it safe to assume that she might have been a goddess, or is it? That might even be a bit far-fetched. He might have just defected for a human, so we don't know. I assume it was because Liz is meant to be she's meant to be the apostle of the goddess clan. Yeah, so we can almost assume that maybe he fell in love with someone from the goddess clan. So Gautha then asks Fraudrin, he says, can you even begin to wrap your head around that one? This is suggesting one of two things. Either Gautha knows the feeling, and that he also defected for a similar reason, or he's asking Fraudrin what the hell that feeling is, because he can't contemplate it, he can't understand it. Now, considering Gartha also defected, I'm going to assume that maybe Gartha had similar reasons to Meliodas, or maybe he had an attachment to Meliodas and he also wanted to leave, and that's why he spoke about that. So Fraudrin says, we come out of the flashback, and Fraudrin kind of reinstates that he is indeed one of the 10 commandments, and Meliodas is just like, bro, you're a third-rate substitute. You know, you weren't even bestowed a commandment by the Demon King himself. You were just given it that position in place of Galtha. So Fraudrin becomes royally wroth. He's just like, yo, and he's the pride. He says he has the pride of the demon clan, something Meliodas cast away without a second thought when he betrayed the demons. So Fraudrin hunches over, and he's kind of doing this like another Dragon Ball Z reference when I think was it Piccolo again? Vegeta did it as well when he did his self-destruct thingy. But he's kind of gathering all his energy by the looks of things. And he says that Zarathustra inspired him and he won't go down easy. So Meliodas smiles, and Meliodas has been smiling this wicked smile for the last couple chapters, which really, really gives off a really evil vibe from Meliodas. So Merlin says that Fraudrin is going to self-destruct, but it won't harm her cube or Meliodas. And Haas is like, bro, we don't care about the cube. What about everybody outside? So Meliodas will survive, but Fraudrin says Meliodas may survive, but Lioness and everyone in it will not. He's going to kill all the humans in Lioness. So he has these veins leading into like this core, like Iron Man. This is Fraudrin, and it's all starting to pulsate, and it looks like it's starting to glow. So he's really, really about to blow. He then begins to count down, ready to explode. And Meliodas tells him, this is the really weird part. Meliodas just says, just get on with it. I'm bored. So Meliodas, in this instant, encouraged Fraudrin to kill everyone in Lioness and to just get on with it. And he's bored. He knows he'll survive, but he encouraged Fraudrin to kill everyone in Lioness, all the humans. This is very un-Meliodas-like. And if Fraudrin had pulled the trigger, what would have happened? Because everyone in the cube would have blamed Meliodas for this. So Fraudrin is appalled by this reaction from Meliodas. He's like, what the hell? Why is he so ruthless? Veronica complains. I think the context was really weird, but I think she's complaining about Meliodas. And Ban asks why Meliodas would rile Fraudrin up, and Fraudrin tells Dreyfus to prepare himself. He's taking him and Griamore to the next world. That's what he says, and he says it almost apologetically. He's like, after I just let your body free, I'm gonna kill you. So Dreyfus tries to comfort Griamore, knowing that they're both about to die, and Griamore then escapes Dreyfus's grasp and traps himself and Fraudrin in his perfect shell. Is it? I forgot what it's called, but it's like Dreyfus's magic, where it's affected by his willpower, and it's that purple shell where as long as his will maintains strong, it won't shatter. So he performs that around himself and Fraudrin. So Griamore pleads with Fraudrin, asking him not to kill anyone, his father, everyone else there. And Fraudrin is beyond appalled at this point. He's just like, crap, what do I do? So Meliodas just looks on, and we can't really tell what he's thinking through his blackened eyes. He usually has such clear eyes, but we can't tell what he's thinking. And he's just got a very mild expression on. It seems like he's bored. So Veronica's going ape, and same with Dreyfus. They're both going ape, afraid that they're about to lose Griamore. Fraudrin echoes Dreyfus's concern, which is actually quite astounding. He echoes Dreyfus's concern for Griamore, telling Griamore to let go and get out. So through this, and through Griamore's reluctance to let down his shell and to get out, because he's trying to stop Fraudrin from killing everyone in Lioness and from destroying Lioness, through all of this, eventually Fraudrin concedes, and he says, okay, I promise not to kill your father, or anyone else for that matter. I'm not going to kill anyone. Just get out, let me go, and just get away from me. So he's gathered up almost in proof as evidence of his giving up, or his concession. Is that the word? Concession? Yeah, his energy gathers up and dissipates back into his chest. It kind of just I thought it'd flow out, but it kind of flows back in and just disappears away from him. So Griamore then lets down his barrier and lets Fraudrin and himself out. So Fraudrin then states that maybe he was the one caught up in silly dreams. He remembers Galtha's words about love when he was talking about, can you understand, can you comprehend love, can you grasp it? And says he never wished to understand them. A point that's important to note here is that through his possession of Dreyfus, he's gradually come to care for Griamore and has loved him as his own child. He loves Griamore as his own child because he's been in Dreyfus's skin for 10 years. For about 10 years, I think it was anyway. So he then just he then just gives up and asks Meliodas to kill him. Griamore voices his disapproval, but not very convincingly, to be honest. And Meliodas just savagely gives Fraudrin the one punch treatment while smiling manically. So it was really weird, because during this whole thing, Meliodas was just smiling this really, really crazy smile, this really evil smile. And Fraudrin's torso, after Meliodas delivered the punch, Fraudrin's torso just gets pulverized, and it's just been decimated. So Ban looks concerned and angered and full of suspicion, and has the right to be full of suspicion. Hauser is shocked, and Merlin is straight-faced and doesn't say anything for once. Merlin is just like, I think she's actually thinking that Meliodas has come back a little strange, a little weird, and she doesn't quite know what's happened. So even after Fraudrin's change of heart, Meliodas was ruthless in his judgment. Think about it. Fraudrin said, okay, I concede, I'm not going to do anything. He then did ask Meliodas to kill him, but Meliodas wouldn't have killed him if that was really the situation. Meliodas would have been like, bro, if you can change, I'll let you come to my side. Galtha's on my side. I can take another commandment, bro. But he, instead of forgiving him, Meliodas straight up kills him, and he's ruthless. So what exactly happened to Meliodas in Purgatory? It's almost as if he's the one who's become selfless. He's become less of himself almost. He's not himself. That's the word I'm looking for. He's not himself. And it's almost like he's gained Galtha's commandment, even though Fraudrin should be the one who's got Galtha's commandment. And if he doesn't, Galtha's the one that definitely has Galtha's commandment. So it was a nice chapter, and it got me feeling bad for the enemy for once. Once again, I had this vibe through the chapter that the demons aren't half as bad as what the goddesses are made out to be. I think I just slapped my mic. But the goddesses are made out to be the real evil of this whole series. And the demons seem to have been partially the victims of this whole war. I mean, they really seem to have drawn the short straw. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for this chapter. Meliodas has become an absolute savage. He's just killing whoever he wants. He's smiling while he's killing them, and he doesn't care. Ban is becoming more and more suspicious of Meliodas, and he's becoming concerned because Meliodas, his best friend, is acting un-Meliodas-like, so something's definitely wrong. And even Merlin doesn't seem to be comfortable with this concept of Meliodas willy-nilly just killing everyone he wants. And Fraudrin himself, a salute to him, but he's finally dead because of his own emotions, which is ironic because the selfless one performed a selfless act at the end and was then killed for it, and he finally died because of his emotions. So, things like that happen. But like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys later.